in order to sort of manufacture reality so that we're more easily controlled and herded into these various systems that they're setting up that will like maintain the vast majority of the populace in this serf underclass. And a lot of the big establishment thinkers on AI have pretty much talked openly about how that technology is being used to create sort of the upper class, the kings of the data barons, I guess, of the modern era, as opposed to the oil barons of previous eras, and how, you know, the people that control the data that AI trains on and the people that program and maintain AI will be sort of in this upper class, and that AI will act upon the lower class, and the lower class over time will become cognitively incapable of understanding what AI is doing to them.
What is a conspiracy theory? Today it seems almost indistinguishable from reality. In this shocking interview, independent journalist and writer Whitney Webb provides us insight into the nuanced but powerful moves being made by the elite to return society to the Dark Ages. The creation of the printing press and the internet are hailed as some of the most important creations in history because they commoditize information. These inventions liberated humanity by granting the lower class access to information, and so they have always been a problem for the global elite. Whitney explains that the global elite have become aware of this and have found a workaround: artificial intelligence. In this interview, Whitney explains how the global elite plan to use AI to alter the populace's perception of reality and force dependency on the technology, essentially creating slaves who are unaware of their servitude. It's truly frightening. Let's dive in to hear it from her.
You know, doing the best they can, but leading us to ruin. That is, how much of what we're experiencing in your estimation today is intentional and how much is accidental?
Yeah, so I think, you know, I tend to view most of what's going on as intentional, and I think they use the perception of what they're doing as incompetence as a way to cover up for their crimes a lot of the time. So I think ultimately what we're seeing is an effort to sort of herd the world towards what I would refer to as a neo-feudal model. So sort of going back to the same concentration of power that existed in the feudal era, or the Dark Ages of Europe, as it were. You sort of have kings, and you have sort of their enforcer class, and then you have a large serf underclass, and that the goal is to have basically those strata, the differences between them, enforced by technology. And I think a key component of that is the efforts to control the flow of information. And in order to bring things back to the neo-feudal era, the powers that be have to take complete control of the internet and the flow of information. And I think that's why we're seeing this increased push of censorization, and also to have, AI chat, generative AI that they produce end up producing the lion's share of the content online. Those two things I think go together in order to sort of manufacture reality so that we're more easily controlled and herded into these various systems that they're setting up that will like maintain the vast majority of the populace in this serf underclass. And a lot of the big establishment thinkers on AI have pretty much talked openly about how that technology is being used to create sort of the upper class, the kings of the data barons, I guess, of the modern era, as opposed to the oil barons of previous eras, and how, the people that control the data that AI trains on and the people that program and maintain AI will be sort of in this upper class, and that AI will act upon the lower class, and the lower class over time will become cognitively incapable of understanding what AI is doing to them and how it's molding their opinions, and will become dependent on AI for everything, and will not really be able to function without it, or even make their own decisions and know their own preferences without it. And this was laid out by people like former Google CEO Eric Schmidt, Henry Kissinger.
Henry Kissinger, former United States Secretary of State, and the man Whitney Webb calls his successor former CEO of Google, Eric Schmidt, have both raised alarm at the possibility of cognitive decline in a world where humans depend on AI. Whitney has explained that this isn't a possibility, but rather the plan, the global elite plan to completely subjugate us. And one of the ways of achieving this is to ensure they control everything we see and interact with. But this is only one portion of their dubious plan. There's a second portion that's being affected simultaneously. Let's head back in to hear it all from her.
Because of their efforts to regain trust. What they're seeking to do is sort of to co-opt or use or lend people that don't deserve it anti-establishment clout, so that they can essentially act like they're going to deliver the change that people want, but they'll be delivering the same policies that their bases, their political bases are against, whether that's digital ID or programmable surveillable money or things of that nature, while claiming that they're against those things. You know, as an example, with like central bank digital currencies, there's also a dual effort by commercial banks to issue commercial bank digital currencies, which are also CBDCs, under the names of deposit tokens or bank issued stable coins. And so, you know, maybe figures like Trump and Ron DeSantis and some of these other figures have, you know, said, oh, if we're elected or in power, there will be no central bank digital currency. But are they against, you know, JP Morgan issuing, you know, deposit tokens or stable coins that are just as programmable and surveillable as what, you know, the central bank could issue? And is that really any better for prosperity and liberty of Americans? You know, is it better to be surveilled by Wall Street and have them program your money than it is to have the Fed? You know, quite frankly not, especially when you consider that people like Jamie Dimon, for example, have come out on record saying they think private property should be seized in order to meet, you know, UN climate goals and things of that nature. It's really ultimately the same thing at the end of the day. Entities propose that banks work directly with intelligence agencies and essentially fuse their operations as it relates to information sharing and analysis. And this is obviously an insane overreach, but it's already happening. For example, Bank of America is a member of that same partnership against cybercrime with the FBI. And on January 6th, Bank of America shared illegally bank activity details with the FBI and Secret Service, so they could go and arrest people that were there on January 6th. So they're already doing that kind of collusion, and they're involved in these partnerships that are not technically overseen by anything involving the US government, but parts of the US government are members. It's one of these global public-private partnerships. And in that particular group is very concerning for another reason, in that they say that one of the ways they need to meet their objectives is by doing things that are currently not legal, that they may need to go beyond things that are currently deemed illegal in order to meet their objectives. So, yeah.
It is all a lie. Elon Musk, Donald Trump, Ron DeSantis, everyone and everything you thought was working for you is working to enslave you. The entirety of the global elite only have one plan for you: absolute subjugation. That is the summary of Whitney Webb's message. In this interview, Whitney has shown a spotlight on the activities of the global elite and how they plan to subjugate us completely. Their weapons of choice? AI and surveillable, programmable money. AI to control our minds and perceptions of reality, and programmable money to punish all who dissent. We can already see signs of this in action in the responses to the January 6th events and the Canadian trucker protest. The dominance of AI is evident in expert predictions that as much as 90% of internet content could be AI generated by 2025. All these facts have begun to blur the lines between what is considered conspiracy theory and reality, and it is truly terrifying. Perhaps all hope is not lost because of technologies like Bitcoin, but the future is grim. What do you think about Whitney's terrifying revelations? To see the latest in crypto news, watch this video here.